Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and what's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Happy Synthetic Friday.
Happy Synthetic Friday, everyone. Markets are closed tomorrow. Markets are closed, so today would be the last trading day of the week for us. But welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to happen in the markets for the day, maybe for the week, since we are at the end of the week. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but today we're going to keep it light. It's early Friday. We got a 3-day weekend here, so we'll cover the big four, take a couple questions, let everybody get into their weekends. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years now. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, maybe some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Thank you for that, Coach Paul. You're all our chat, our audience. We want to thank you all for hanging out on this last day of the week, short week. As far as news goes today, we did have Netflix earnings that just came out. Earnings per share $6.61. Estimate was $5.68. It looks like they beat on revenues just a little bit as well. 10.54 billion. Estimate was 10.5. We'll see. Get some other numbers coming out of there. But we did have Netflix earnings. As far as other news goes, planned news, we did have jobless claims. Today is Thursday. We had housing starts as well. Jobless claims came in at, for you, 215,000. Forecast was 225. Reading that right? Yep. And housing starts came in at 1.324 million. Forecast was 1.42 million. Anything else you got on the news, Coach? We did have also some comments out of the president. He was doing a press conference a little earlier. Didn't really pay too much attention to what he was saying. It sounds like he's looking to get rid of Jerome Powell. There was a headline that said, he will leave if I ask him to.
He didn't sound that way yesterday.
Maybe he didn't ask the right way.
Maybe they didn't ask. It's all about the buyout. But other than that, news was light as expected. I think the market appears to be accepting the random headlines and coming back to more traditional ranges. It was a slow grind. It looked to me, except for the crude oil.
Let's go over the big board real quick, or the quote board, not the big board. Big board is the top 25 traders at Topstep. Quote board, we have 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts, and today to the downside, we had the Ultra Bonds down 1.07%, the Dow down 1.25%, and silver, our biggest percentage mover, to the downside at 1.47%. To the upside, we had the Nikkei up 2.02%, RBOB gasoline futures up 2.31%, and crude oil, our biggest percentage mover, to the upside at 2.93%. To round out our big four, we already talked about crude up 2.94%, S&P's up 0.26%, gold down 0.33%, and the NASDAQ up 0.15%. Coach, we're going to switch it up a little bit. Got a crude chart up here on a daily. What are we looking at, Coach?
Well, we broke out of that range from the last week at the end of the week and sustained a pretty nice steady rally. It wasn't violent. It was a nice trade. And there's the range. Looked very much like the NASDAQ. And once we closed in a half hour above, actually, it started last night and just steady drive forward. Now, yeah, look that's the opening. It held steady. This was one of the most gentle trades I think I've seen in a long time. wasn't too much, there wasn't too much heat in this trade. Held that VWAP all day long until we had capitulation to the buy side. It was a great trade. Can it sustain? Going back to the daily, I think we hit the 20-day moving average.
Close to it. I have it up here at 64.91, but we're pretty close. High of the day today in crude was 64.18.
But the structure of that has me feeling pretty bullish that it's going to get above it, go back and press the 200-day moving average. That's the way I see it. This isn't advice for a trade. It's just that's how I see this unfolding. If it doesn't, we'll see over the weekend. We could go right back into the soup. But we're today's action was definitely short covering. I'd call it, but it was a nice gentle trade.
It was. I'm just fixing my lighting over here. I looked kind
Okay.
of orange.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were flashing green flashes
yeah.
behind you like I was
Uh,
at a club.
rule number one of sitting in front of a green screen: don't wear a green shirt. Uh, the little bit of green that's in the shirt is kind of fading into the background, but we'll go from there. But yeah, crude oil closing above that Wednesday range, right? When we did the weekly kickoff, and really all week we've been talking about in a lot of these markets, what do they do with this Wednesday range where we saw a ton of change, right? Crude oil closed outside of it. We saw gold close outside of it as well. Uh, Looks bullish as long as we hold above this, coach. Do we trade back up to 70s and into the range? I know there was some news out of the Middle East and things as well. I'm not going to quote it because I don't have the headlines in front of me, but uh, yeah, looks bullish coming out of this higher time frame demand that we're in.
Now, where do we go to? I don't know, but we have a range in mind, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Coach Hoop says she is a temptress for sure. We can break. Can we break out more? Is the question. Find out on Sunday. Right. Anything else in crude, Coach? Let's move on to gold from here.
Oh, gold. I see Coach Hoop. It was good to Coach Hoop today. So I'm gonna guess you sold it. Um, hope you covered. We must have covered quickly. Um, so last night it was interesting. We've talked about this buying in gold. It's starting in Asia. So if we look at that half hour, and it started out very much like
I'm high.
it has been,
Made a
but
new
it
all-time high on the open. 33.71.90 new all-time highs on this contract. And then what do we do, Coach?
we did not leave the range, but there was no follow through buying, is the best way I can describe it. There was buying, and the buying failed for the first time in this week, at least. Um, and then it picked up steam. It was, that break looks much more dramatic here on the half hour than
Yeah.
on a daily.
Oh yeah.
That's
On a daily, it's just a little bit of a pullback. Uh, just a slight pullback. Nothing to see here. We're still moving up. But on a 30-minute for sure. I actually was in this short last night during slow markets with Dakota, uh, where this is what it looked like going into slow markets. Right, Dakota took a long in gold. No, sorry, he was short. He was just short before the volume kind of broke out. Right trade idea, right? Just the timing. This is kind of what it looked like during slow markets, which at this point is saying range bound trade, right? So I think when we came on slow markets last night, I was saying gold looks like a better buy here, which isn't a bad idea. I think we're in a higher time frame trend on a shorter time frame, execution time frame. It's saying, hey, this is a range bound market. Buy the extremes, or fade the extremes until it fails. But the thought process behind these range bound trades, I'm not looking for this to, all of a sudden start trading 3,500 if I take this long here, coach. There's really no flow here. Um, Profit targets would have to be conservatively 50% of, or sorry, the other end of that range. So there was a decent long opportunity, but once the flow started going to the downside, uh, that really got it going. We can see the spike in volume right here on the 30-minute. That's huge for what gold normally trades at night. And if we go
Yeah.
down to a 3-minute, we can see it. That spike of volume said, okay, this is going to be a selling day, and they held to the rest.
Yeah, that spike of that one was the had a potential to be a classic J trade, but as we noticed, it didn't take that high of that candle out the whole day.
Yep.
There were other attempts, um, but the next two were less volume than the highest, so there was no buying that could turn the tide. So maybe that's where Coach Hoop got in.
Where'd you short? Nice trade. And we can see every time we came back up here, we kind of we respected that volume, like you're saying, Coach. I did get in this trade late. My entry was down here, um, and the one thing I said was, you know what, I'm accepting any risk inside this candle. If we trade above the high, which would give us that reversal, then I want to be out of the trade, right? That's a market structure based risk, not, hey, I can only lose X amount of dollars in my account. If it gets above here for the rest of the day, I'm out. And it didn't do it. To me, that's good stop placement because I was in a drawdown initially in this trade. Uh, it eventually worked out. But when we can set our stops that way, to me, they're a little bit more comfortable trades. Coach Hoops looking up his executions. Uh, Linus Rain, you have a great weekend. Enjoy the walk with the dogs. Anything else on gold, Coach?
Let's take a quick look at the weekly. It is Synthetic Friday.
It was the weekly.
Today's action was literally negligible.
Just had to make sure we had a wick.
Yeah. So no sign of a blow off yet. Buy the dips. That
The
is what I
stops.
will be looking at.
On the daily, what I will say, and I mentioned this during slow markets last night, is if we get any bearish price action early on Sunday into Monday, I'd be looking to potentially short. Reason being, and again, what we say here is for educational purposes only, and not trading advice. But what I'm looking at here is, you know, these kind of 3 down days in an uptrend that we've been having in gold. This would be day number one, right? We talked about this during slow markets last night as well, where I took the short because it's set up. But if you look at the patterns for what we've been having, that second day short has been a probably a little bit more comfortable of a trade. Um, but it has to set up, right? I can't just short Sunday into Monday because we ended lower today because there's a huge wick on this daily candle as well, where some buyers had to step up here. But if we see some bearish price action on Sunday into Monday, because we're extended away from that 20 moving average on the daily, Coach, I'm a little bit more comfortable taking shorts, but we'll see how Sunday opens.
We shall over a 3-day weekend with some possible news event.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Most of the action today, and just about every market I was looking at, had that in mind.
Yeah,
Um, like I don't want to carry risk over the weekend, so there was evening up. Um, Currencies too, gold, everything. Risk off.
risk off. Billy had a question. What does risk off mean in crude? Does that mean getting long?
It means covering your positions.
Yeah,
Because crude could go. It's unlike stocks. I mean, you can get volatility on either side. Especially when we saw -50 crude. That can't happen. It did. So is taking positions off where you see a move counter to the prevailing direction. So risk off. In other words, for that, you probably see some uh, open interest coming down, taking off trades or hedging them into a 3-day weekend. 3-day weekends are notorious for some large event. So doesn't mean it's going to happen, but there's a risk point. Why take the risk?
We're gonna NASDAQ chart up on a daily. What are we looking at here, coach? Oh,
Mm, boy, still trending down. We're still under the 20. We're accepting some ranges. The fear is coming out. Um, but it hasn't changed. The direction has not changed. Um, still, you know, I'm still in the sell mode. It's still a downtrend. We're still holding that half hour, I call it the hourly candle from April 9th, the
okay to buy candle and then
okay
delay
to
of
buy
tariffs.
candle. I find it hard to even say that that actually happened, but yeah, the okay to buy candle. We're still in it. So, but we're not, there's no momentum happening to the upside. So to
None
me,
at all. I'll
I
be
think
interested to hear what you know Hogue is going to be doing the weekly kickoff this Sunday. I'm sure he'll talk about open interest and things like that on Monday during the opening call. Um, what volume is actually doing here, right? Are people getting short, right? What's really going on? But this day ending in a doji, if we kind of just zoom out and look at all of the other dojis that we've had on the daily, it lead to more selling uh, for the most part.
it's
Go ahead.
it's weak buying against heavy selling is the
Yep,
way I define it. And once again, that's what a doji is, right? It's counter. It
it
doesn't.
is.
Um, yeah, that looks well. I have a flair for the obvious that I've developed in my 40 years. It's this. This is very weak. Um, Trend is your friend, and the trend has not been
Only to
not
buyers.
even challenged. Yeah,
Not at all. That was the plan for the weekly kickoff this week as well. Do we trade outside of that? It's okay to buy candle, right? 19,400 at the high, or does this 20 moving average continue to push us lower? Coach, the one thing I'm thinking about, and Dakota was talking about this as well, right? There was a clear moment where buying stepped in on Wednesday of last week, right? Now, uh, there are buyers in this zone here. This 20 moving average from a technical perspective is still pushing us lower. Uh, Tomorrow, I mean, not tomorrow, next week is, I think, going to be a big week, right? Because coming into an area where we know we had some buying volume in the markets, from a technical perspective, we're still pushing lower. Uh, does this kind of squeeze and these buyers really are going to see what this selling pressure is looking like in the markets? And have to step out of the way, or is there enough money to come in and defend this? We know on a weekly, we hit that 200 moving average on the Nasdaq, which is something that we don't hit often. So next week is going to be a big week for sure. Uh, we'll be here to
yeah,
trade
that
it and talk about
weekly.
it.
Um, when we tell you that weekly, that's the high. That's the 200 bar moving average. It's the 20-day
Fantastic.
moving average. It's averaging out. And
Yep.
I like a comment here from Richard Harris. This could trap sellers who go up. It could. And when we've seen this, when we saw the 2022 move, um, go right back to the 200-day moving average and then big move to the downside. Yeah,
Looked
there
like
it
a
is.
recovery. Looked like a
Yeah.
recovery. Checked that 200 and spent the rest of the year under it. Where's the 200 on the? We haven't done that yet. But look at the 20 and the 50, right? We talked about this death cross. This is, yeah, this is gaining some momentum, and we can still see some upside days, right?
Yeah.
Bear market rallies are some of the strongest moves ever. But rallies have to, in order for rallies to sustain, you need to convince buyers to continue buying higher prices, and we have not seen that for a month and a half. Uh, Going on 2 months now. Yeah, 2 months. February 17th, the high, and we are today's April 17th. All right. S&Ps, anything else here, coach? Similar story. We're still in that Wednesday range of last week. It's okay to buy it. Maybe they're building a position here. Anything else you want to talk about on the equities?
What's interesting? Dow got crushed because of United Health Systems or whatever they call themselves. It was a little different action where that was, the blue chip, but that one, there you go. That's still under the 20-day moving average. Same structure, but it had healthcare is starting to turn now. The healthcare ETF. Um, and that's been relatively strong, and they was down 20%. That doesn't help. When the strong sectors start turning, that's when we're
Concerning.
seeing this could pick up steam. Dow was a little different today because of that.
Yeah. Let's look at that on a daily. When did the Dow really get going? Later in the day? Oh, never mind. Wow. So, okay,
Yeah.
I have a question for you. And maybe we can talk about this another time. Do you know why happens in the Dow, where around 5 p.m. Central Time, there's a volume spike in the Dow that really doesn't happen in any of the other equity markets?
At what time?
Around 5 a.m. Central Time. Sometimes it happens in the other markets, but it's consistent, pretty consistent in the Dow. I don't know why.
Hmm. You found a
Little
pattern.
Easter egg, little Easter egg.
Yeah. Was it colored?
Yeah, orange in this case. Uh,
Um,
but if anyone can, if you guys want to, if you do some back testing or something like that over the weekend, maybe
yeah,
I'm
that's
overfitting data here, and I think it's happened a couple times. It's like when you see your clock say 11:11 all the time, it's just like I always
yeah.
catch it at 11:11. It's just like no, you just remember it because it's
Is
11:11.
is
I
that
don't know.
recency bias?
It might be recency bias, but there might be something here also. I just
That's
have
like
not done
colors
this.
of cars. If you see the black car, then all of a sudden you see nothing but black cars.
Right, right,
um,
exactly. But that's where most of that sell-off came from.
that's interesting because that was a huge miss by United Healthcare, and that's a Dow 30 stock. And that alone just looks a lot different than the rest of the market.
It does. Yes, it does. All right. Anything else on the equities, coach?
That's it.
Right. We got two questions in the chat here. Anuj asks, which session do you like to trade, Coach Paul and Coach Jay? For me, if I had to pick a session, it is going to be the New York session, specifically 9:30 a.m. Eastern time to 11:30. It's the most volume, likelihood to get the most follow through during that time. So that's it for me. What about you, Coach?
I prefer the New York, the same thing Coach Jay described, but um, I like the. That's a good question. I like good trades. They can come in at night or day, but more good trades come in during the day. Does that, if that makes sense? Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Never trades present opportunities. I'm there. But you got to sleep sometimes too. Got to do other things
it's
off the chart. Sleep
uh,
is.
you know, Lent's over now for us Catholics, and now I can sleep in because I gave up sleeping for Lent.
I
It
mean,
feels that way.
great time to give it up with these markets moving as crazy as they were. Uh,
Yes.
right. One more question for you, Coach Paul. Did you trade the peso?
No, I forgot to look at it. Boy, it took off. Did it? Oh yeah.
Did it? Okay. Here's a question for the chat. Did anybody trade the peso? Right. This was on the scouting report. I know I didn't trade it, but this was on the scouting report from the time we crossed above that 200 moving average on the daily, and it's doing exactly. Oh man. I wish I had a resource like at the buzzer when I was first starting trading.
Well, now you do. Tell all your friends and hit the like button.
Be the change you want to see in the world. Uh,
Wow, look at that. Was a classic trade. No, I still, by the way, I still haven't gotten the okay. And until I saw the email, I forgot about it. So, yeah. By the way, and I thank you. I will be trading the Mexican peso. But that's it. Just, I said, I'll trade anything. I'm looking for structure. They had perfect structure. By the way, did you take advantage of that move?
That was Thomas Teal who asked that question. Thomas said he missed
Okay.
it. And that's the thing, right? We talk about and again we're creatures of habit. So I'm sure Thomas, if you missed it, you sat down at your desk and defaulted to the market that you trade every day, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Genius Genie said, "I'm following only one market, like Coach Paul suggested, Master One." That's fine, right? We'll talk about a bunch of different markets because Coach Paul and I will probably place trades in a couple of different markets. But if you're focused in mastering one market, that's okay, right? We don't have to try to chase opportunity. We just need to identify opportunity, even in the markets that are presenting themselves to us. Uh, I wish I traded the peso. Andrew says I had burritos for dinner. Does that count? Counts a little bit.
Well, about
Actually, go ahead.
burritos are technically a Tex-Mex food.
I was gonna ask, was the wrap, was it a corn tortilla or flour?
Or yeah, I
If it,
prefer the flour.
I do too, but if it was a corn tortilla, then yeah, it counts. Uh,
Do we have
any
any
other
listeners from Mexico? Please let us if we're at, give us some feedback.
viewers from Mexico? That'd be awesome. We got Gauth from France.
Oh,
Uh, New viewer started scalping 1 month ago. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions while we're here, hit the like button. I'm reading out what I just did. I just clicked the like button. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll answer them. And then hit the like button. Richard Harris says, in my opinion, the burrito is a perfect meal. I'm a burrito freak. Go. Uh, Coach Paul Abdul wants me to tell you thank you.
well, you're welcome, Abdul. Um,
I got nothing
but
else. It's Friday. Coach, you got anything before we go?
this weekend, enjoy a 3-day weekend. Maybe take an hour, nothing more. Review the trades you've been making. See if you're following some routine. Um, Also, take those biggest, if you've had big blowout days, see if you would have stopped trading at 15%, 12% drawdown, add those up and see if that's what you need to do to go forward. That's my last piece of advice. Enjoy the weekend.
Stuff. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Happy holidays to those that celebrate the holidays this weekend. What type of pizza does the Dorito? Mohammed, what is this? What type of pizza does the Dorito with pizza flavor? Dorito pizza. There. That sounds
Is
like
there
a
a Dorito
Domino's
with
thing.
pizza?
That sounds like a Domino's thing.
I don't know. In Asia, when I was in Singapore or when you go to Asia, you see these wild chips, seaweed. I don't even like, and it was delicious. So
Mm.
I'll try anything once, but I would try that. It's a
Mohammed,
joke. Well,
Mo-
you know what? Some
hey,
place you could put it and it would sell.
Mohammed, there are, I'm sure, some college kids in America that are going to be celebrating 420 this weekend and would definitely eat a burrito pizza. Let's see how quickly we can open up a pizza shop, Muhammad. We can make $1 billion this weekend. Promise you. But great idea. I love it.
Hmm.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Remember, Hogue is kickoff. No slow markets tonight. I believe our coaches in Discord are still doing their classes. Coach Hoop at 4:30. Coach Rain, Coach Vince at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Topstep TV is off tomorrow. Markets are closed. We'll be back on YouTube with Hogue doing the market kickoff at 5 p.m. on Sunday. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon, Coach. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye.
I got to tell you, once again, our show is awesome.